Yeah, wait. I want to make sure the audio gets, it's like the nice audio.
The nice audio.
Yeah, because there's a setting to record for like where they don't do the EQ'd or like noise canceling bullshit. And it's like, I think it's a recording for, it's like audio settings for musicians. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. How you doing?
I'm good. Just juggling a million things. How are you?
Yeah, same. Well, yeah. In my personal life, things could be better, but I'm in this really nice new apartment. It kind of
Awesome.
reminds me of New York because I'm on this fire escape, and I go out through, I enter through the fire escape and then crawl in through my kitchen window. It's like the perfect like entryway to an afters.
Nice. Wait, so how long have you been in Pittsburgh?
I moved in August 2022 for grad school at Carnegie Mellon in
Okay,
robotics.
so you've been in a minute. Okay.
A minute, it feels both like a minute and also like really quick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. You're in Tokyo. You've been there for like a year and a half.
Yeah, like a year. Yeah, just over a year, pretty much.
Was Tokyo, is Tokyo the final destination or is it like to be determined?
Yeah. I mean, Japan is the final destination for sure.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like maybe I should move to Shanghai because that's where my parents are from. And I've noticed like, because I
Okay.
was listening to your podcast again yesterday,
Uh-huh.
and you were talking about like jazz and how your dad used to play these records and like I'm like my
Mm-mm.
parents used to play classical and I used to hate that shit. Um, but I think that's the final destination is I will end up in Shanghai making like electronic classical music probably.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. I mean, the more and more time goes by and I see, I observe, I think America's toast.
Oh, it
It's
is.
like
It has
game
been.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it better in Japan? Are you a citizen?
No, no, I'm on a
An
long-term
artist?
residency ancestry visa.
Oh,
Um,
they have ancestry visas
yeah, but it kind of it fast tracks to permanent residency.
after
Uh,
how long? It's funny, like, 'cause it's like was it your mom
yeah,
immigrated and now you're unimmigrating by immigrating.
exactly, right? Exactly.
It always comes back to the motherland.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I probably wouldn't take a passport out because they don't support dual citizenship. Um,
Yeah.
and one day I won't mind giving up the American, but I want to keep my New Zealand citizenship for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about Auckland. Like, what's Auckland like?
It used to be amazing.
Used to be
I mean,
until you left.
no, it's now I go back there and I'm kind of like, what happened to the soul of the city? Like the
That's how I
90s,
feel. Yeah.
the
Continue.
90s there were incredible. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the biggest plus I'll say about it is that I think, people talk about New York for diversity. I think Auckland might be the melting pot of the world. Like
It's
it's
like
short.
right in the Pacific.
Yeah, and it's definitely
Yeah.
short on Africans, but as far as Europeans, Polynesians, Maori, and all Asians go, and Brazilians, it's a heavy
Uh-huh.
melting pot. And
Yeah.
the melting pot works. Like so that's cool. But yeah, the
Japan.
cultural.
Sorry. Sorry.
I was gonna say that like culturally, New Zealand's a little well, Auckland is yeah, it's missing something.
Yeah. I feel like well Tokyo is also not very diverse, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Um, but I appreciate the lack of diversity here.
Yeah, because you're finally in the majority and you're like, wow, this is like what it's like.
I mean, it's the first place I've been that I feel at home at. Like, it's wild.
Have you lived in Detroit or like had, because like what's your pulse on Detroit? Detroit,
I can,
as soon as I stepped out the airport, I was like, I'm home, even though I've never been here before.
yeah, no, I considered Detroit like if I was gonna stay in America after But at the point that I moved here, if I had I stayed in America, I was seriously considering Detroit.
Yeah.
Uh, just winter's brutal. That's the only thing.
Yeah. And the roads are shit.
The roads are shit, but I mean, it's one of the only places in America where I feel, and I haven't been everywhere, so I don't know, but I feel a genuine grassroots kind of
Yeah.
counterculture in music and arts specifically. Um, and yeah, the real DIY thing there, which I don't see happening elsewhere. And my friends there they're not kind of tethered to the social media game or
Right.
no one gives a fuck. It's like just make your
Make the shit. Yeah.
shit and yeah, and get on with it,
Yeah. Like I
which is
love
beautiful.
I conducted a poll on my Instagram. There's this account called Avocado Ibuprofen, but they posted something about like different DIY art scenes and how they're like two kinds of people. There's type A who just like make the shit that they want to
Yep.
make with no regard for anyone else because
Yep.
it just needs to come out. And then there's
Yep.
type B people who care about people's opinions of their art.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
like the people who chose that they were A, those are the people like when I was looking through, I was like, these are the people who I think of as artists. Like it aligned very well, where it's just like
Yeah,
make the shit
sure.
you need to make. Who cares?
Sure.
Who gives a fuck? Like, yeah,
I mean, I think there's an economic reality. It's like if you survive off your art, then you kind of have to subscribe to the game,
yeah, the
um,
game.
which is where I forget who was talking about this, some book, just talking about the idea where like the creative epicenters are where you have this combination of young people and low cost of living.
Right.
And so that historically that's Detroit has that and different pockets of the world have had that. I mean, parts of New York had that back in the day. Um, Berlin definitely had that after the wall came down. But now, like, kind of almost post hyperinflation, there's so few places that can offer that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how, like, my kind of niche weirdo creative friends in LA or New York, I don't know how they're
Yeah.
surviving.
Yeah, Kyle McDonald, who's like a well-known like creative coder, like technology art guy,
Uh-huh.
he
Uh-huh.
came and gave a talk at Carnegie Mellon, and I asked him like, dude, how much do you make a year? And he said
Mm.
like 60K, and he barely has enough living in LA like to have anything to put into savings. But he says he's very fortunate compared to the rest, where he can actually turn down gigs. But he's still
Wow.
like scraping by, even
Yeah, I
though
mean,
he's like two
60K in
two
LA.
steps
Ooh.
above me. Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, I mean, when I left, like I gave up my apartment a year before I moved out of LA properly because I was in Japan for half that year. But when I left, it was a two-bedroom in K-Town. It was 2.5 grand. And all my friends were like, don't let go of it because when you come back, it won't be 2.5 grand.
Yeah.
And I was already pretty committed to something's going to change after this trip anyway. So I gave it up. And when I went back and I checked it, it was 3.5 grand. It's probably four now. It's like, who the fuck can pay 4 grand a month? Like,
Tech workers who will destroy the culture of the city. That's what happened in Seattle. That's why I moved out.
yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, it's wild. It's
And it's
wild.
so like I'm like culture is born from scrappiness and having to be resourceful because you don't have resources.
Yeah.
And yeah, I see a huge overlap between DIY culture and like my immigrant mom,
Hmm.
like being like, yeah,
Hmm.
let's tape up the windows with garbage bags because that's all we have. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
make it work.
yeah.
No, totally. Feel you on that.
And like, I'm like, because I've been thinking more about where culture comes from. And I feel like it
Hmm.
comes from marginalized populations or minority, like subculture. Culture comes from subculture because you have to create some kind of coded signal or language that didn't exist before to protect yourself so that you can recognize other people who are in the in group. Like, I don't know, things like if you know, you know, and like invite only, plus one, white label. Like, it's not about exclusivity, it's about safety, I think, like
Interesting.
when it first starts out. 'Cause,
Huh.
yeah, being
I
in
don't,
Detroit, like, I felt that, like the you are. covered everything. It's like for
Yep.
safety, first and foremost, when you're like doing
Interesting.
direct action. Um, yeah.
I guess there's parts of the world where there weren't the societal risks which required to find safety like that. And so subcultures develop for different reasons. But I can
Mm.
see, especially in somewhere like America, yeah. And
Yeah.
BIPOC and America multiplied by each other equals find safety. Yes.
Find safety. Yeah. And I think that's true of any like I was talking to my friend about how they're like every story boils down to like three characters. There's like the person in power, the person who's the victim, and then the outcast. But
Mm-hmm.
then he was like, there's actually only one person, and that's you and me, and we're the same. And like everybody is the like different versions of yourself at different points of like your spiritual evolution. And so like me
Sure.
talking to you is
Yeah.
like me helping myself and you
hmm
because we're the
hmm
same. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the beauty of teaching, right? It's like whenever I'm teaching, I find that I'm the student.
Yeah. Do you teach?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not formally, but I do kind of online, like
Oh,
one-on-one lessons for different things
can
and
you teach me drums?
that I can't do. I'm not a drummer.
I'll ask Zach.
However, I would recommend melodics.
Melodics. Do you know about uh Eurythmics? Apparently, I found it out when I moved here because
Uh-huh.
apparently Pittsburgh is the Eurythmics like capital of the U.S. It's also not very well known in Pittsburgh, but it's essentially like it comes from CMU. Like it's called the Dalcroze method, I
Uh-huh.
think, where basically you teach people music through physical motion, like
Right.
timing beats or like stepping in a certain way, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's like
Oh,
ability.
Eurythmy.
Hmm.
Yeah, Eurythmy comes out of the Rudolf Steiner school.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a Waldorf Steiner thing. Um, and they teach math kinetically too. It's like bouncing a ball and
Mm.
catching it and just kind of syncing that with math.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, man,
That's
maybe I should be a
interesting.
gym teacher, a music gym
Yeah,
teacher.
do whatever you want.
Um, so I wanted to ask, like if you had to TLDR your life, like
Oh,
born Auckland, then moved to, you went to Berkeley for a year?
yeah, I was in school for half a year. I was on campus
Okay.
for a year. Yeah,
And that's in Boston, right?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah, I would hang out with the Berkeley kids when I was in at MIT. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then moved to Sydney, or you said you were gonna move to Sydney.
I was. I went back to New Zealand for a few years, and then I did a 1 year kind of a scholarship funded 1 year trip around the world following my music dreams.
Was
That
that
was like
government funded?
no, it was private. It was corporate funded.
Okay, cool.
I forget who the corporation was in New Zealand, but they funded this thing called the Young Achievers Award for New Zealanders under 25 in any field. Like in my cohort, there was an Olympic equestrian hopeful, a ballerina, a nuclear physicist, me, and a violinist, and it was really diverse. But that took me around the world for a year, and that got me to fall in love with London and meet community there.
What
So
were all the stops? Like
San
London?
Francisco, Havana, London, Paris, London, New York, London, Tokyo, Sydney, back to New Zealand.
Okay.
I mean,
How,
London was the heart of it, and I think in everything it gave me, the second place would have been Havana. I was in Cuba for a month, and it was life-changing. I mean, this is like 1998. So it was a whole different time.
yeah. And then where did you go after that?
I was back to New Zealand for a year, and then I moved to London. So I was like
Okay.
10 years in London from
Dude,
then.
people have told me London is like the best city on earth, but people have also told me that about Istanbul and like I guess now Auckland. Just because I
Maybe
think like it's diversity.
maybe everywhere's the best city on earth. It just depends. I mean, the grass
Yeah,
is green, and everywhere's got something to offer.
I'm like, make where you are the best city on earth. And that's how I feel about
Exactly.
Pittsburgh. Yeah. I feel like there's duty to stay here because a lot of people leave once they get big enough. Yeah.
What's that? You reminded me. There's a Toni Morrison quote, and it's basically I'm paraphrasing, but it's like operate or create or exist or whatever at the edge as if it's the center. And
And that's how you expand.
that brings the center to you. It's like instead of like it's with music, like being real status quo and and acquiescing to all the expectations and being going to the center because it's where everything is.
Yeah,
Just
that's type
be on
B.
the edge and act as if it is
That's
the
how I
center.
feel. Yeah, because sometimes I feel like art just needs, like, a particular expression, like, needs to be exercised from me and my psyche. And so then I externalize it by, like, creating a piece of art. And it's about, like,
There
bringing
you
the
go.
center to me and to my
Yep.
identity and my experience because that is not represented very well with the current center.
Here it is. There's the quote. That's verbatim.
Ah, can you read it?
I stood at the border, stood at the edge, and claimed it as central. I claimed it as central and let the rest of the world move over to where I was.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I feel like one of my like I respect Zach Saginaw Shigeto so much because he stays and he puts it back into the culture of the place he's from,
Yeah.
or the place that
Yeah.
like where he got started. And
Yeah.
fuck Yeji. Maybe Yeji will see this. Fuck Yeji because Yeji got her start in Pittsburgh playing at Cobra and having a show on WRCT, but she doesn't tour in Pittsburgh. She goes to Philly.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, we go where our journey takes us, right? I don't
Yeah.
think, someone could easily say that about me with New Zealand. It's like, man, he fucking ditched us. But no, I had a,
No, you're
I
still
had a
there.
different experience and
Yeah,
um, but yeah, there's
it's
there's
true.
definitely something for me about Detroit where people are, passionately loyal about it and
Yeah.
fiercely proud of it as they should be. I mean, it's a magical place.
Yeah.
I'm playing there on August the 3rd, actually.
Okay, I'll drive out.
Yeah.
It's funny, like my first, like when I first came to one of your park concerts, or it was like I think the first time I'd seen you perform. I
Hmm.
loved that it was in MacArthur Park and free, and it was just you jamming on stage with like 10 people, and like you found a
Oh
like
yeah,
there's a dancer who was dancing, and you pulled him up on stage, and I'm
that
like,
was
yeah,
fun.
like. But then I was like, I think he told me to talk to you after. And then I tried to talk to you after, but there's this line of like LA clout chasers who were like, I was friends with Mark de Clive Lowe, roommate 7 years ago, and we were waiting there for 30 minutes. And I was like, fuck this, I'll just get coffee with Mark like another day.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, that was a super fun gig. I remember it well.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved the dancer. Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
did you find
Um,
him or did you know him from earlier?
yeah, Deshaun. I found him on IG. Um, Actually, most of my favorite dancers I found on IG and just kind of reached out to them. And I mean, I don't know if he danced, if a lot of people that will post something dancing to some of my music and then I'll find them that way. I'm not, no, wait. No, now I remember. It wasn't that. I was DJing in San Diego and I remember looking out at the crowd
Yeah.
and the guy fucking just moving like an alien. It was incredible.
Yes.
That
Yes.
that was Deshaun. Yeah, that's right. So I met him that way.
Yeah, he was just doing his type A shit, just doing what he needed to do.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so creative and just in the moment and flow and I mean it's great. It's funny with dancers when you see like the ones who are like they're professional, they're there for the music video or pop tour kind of gig, and then the ones who are there for the art of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about like I think being authentic to yourself and not like masking for any sort of like pre-expectations of what dance is or what art is or what music is or like what writing or a
Yeah,
conversation is. It's all about like just expressing what is true within yourself.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do in this day and age. Like just again, the
Hmm.
economics of the reality of, living and paying your way and um, so I think anyone who can really do that, hats off to them for sure. And
Yeah.
at the same time, no judgment also to the people who, opt for a safer route, like with more security maybe.
It's so hard because I've tried the safe route and I
Hmm.
literally can't do it.
No, I get it. I get it. Yeah, I know. The closest things I've done to the pop world, they just don't work. I'm like, this is not me. Can't do
Yeah.
it.
It's like painful to try to fit in. Like literally, I quit my job at Facebook because it was like every day was the worst thing I'd ever experienced.
That's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, yeah, it was bad. And then I was like, I'm gonna be an artist because I can't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to. Okay, so real quick. So then London, then where?
Then LA.
London, LA, Tokyo, and Tokyo is the final. Hopefully.
I mean, who knows, but it feels like it's the first time somewhere's felt like home. I see
Yeah.
infinite possibility here. I
Hmm.
can imagine growing old here.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you feel like do people recognize you as Japanese just because you're biracial, or do they like clock you?
I mean, some people do like. I mean, like my partner, she's Japanese. She sees me as Japanese.
Okay.
Um, but the more conventionally in Japan, no matter how good your
Mm-hmm.
language is, no matter how much you've assimilated culturally, if you're not actually Japanese, they'll never accept you as Japanese.
Yeah.
And that's a fairly real thing, but also it doesn't bother me.
Hmm.
Um,
I think that got to
so
Alex because I talked to Alex about it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely gets to some people for sure. But then, everyone I deal with is great. Like,
Yeah.
I was at the dentist the other day, and he doesn't deal with foreign patients by not normally because he doesn't speak English. Um, and yeah, it's like when I'm like, everyone's like, "Oh my God, your Japanese is amazing." I'm like, "Well, I'm actually half," and then that becomes a
Okay.
point of interest and
That's
curiosity
good. Yeah.
more than judgment. There's never any judgment.
Okay. Because, yeah, I
Yeah,
lived in Mexico during the pandemic. I did dip out of Seattle.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
I was there learning Spanish. Like, I
yeah.
was there to learn Spanish, and it was like so nice. Like, once you get over that first hurdle of like, oh, you're an other, but then you're like, oh, I'm
Right.
actually not. Like, I speak the language, I care about the culture. Then
Yeah,
they like embrace you with like open arms.
yeah. I mean, that's all anyone wants, right? Just fucking respect our shit.
Yeah, I love how anytime you're learning a new language, like it's like, hi, how are you? Thank you, please. Like it's
Yeah,
just all out of like, I care, I see you, I care about you, thank
yep,
you. And that's like
yeah,
the basis of all of human interaction.
totally. And also to the point where, like, you're talking about learning Spanish, it's like, language is culture and culture is language. They're inextricably intertwined. You cannot assimilate a culture without learning the language, and
Right,
vice versa.
right.
Like if you learn a language without the culture, it's dead. Maybe you can speak it, but it's dead.
Yeah, it's just it's Latin.
It's exactly,
Yeah,
literally. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, so then, okay, you were born in Auckland, and then if we
Hmm.
go backwards through time, like what's the story of like my parents? You said your dad moved to
Yes,
Japan and lived there for 20 years and met your mom, and then they
exactly.
both
Yeah.
moved over to Auckland.
Yeah, so I mean, his granddad was born in Bangalore, India, raised in the UK. He was one that emigrated to New Zealand in the late 19th century. And then my dad, born and raised in New Zealand, goes to Japan age 22, 1953. the first generation post-war of foreigners to be in Japan. Goes there for 3 months, stays for 20 years, meets my mum, my brothers are born there, and then I guess raising a family, they were thinking, oh, New Zealand's a better option, and so they moved back to New Zealand the year before I was born.
Oh, they did it for you.
They might have done it for themselves, and I just happened to come along. That might have been more the case.
Yeah. How are
Yeah.
your like I think we're getting into like deep trauma stuff, but like are
Hmm.
your like what decade, like what world events shaped your parents and your grandparents?
I mean, my mom talks about, she was a young child at the end of the war, and she talks about, there'll be a bombing raid, and she remembers her mother taking them all outside into like a trench which had
Mm,
been um, dug out in front of the house, and they'd be in the trench, and the house behind theirs, a bomb would land on it, and it'll get bombed and shit. So she remembers that vividly, and then the post-war scarcity, and I
yeah.
so I think that really shaped her a lot. I'm I think that generation was also very resilient, of that generation of
Yes.
Japanese, like post-war. And
So that was
so,
like 50s,
yeah, I mean,
40s,
45
50s.
is when the war ended.
Uh-huh.
She was born in 37. So she was
Okay.
9 years old when the bombings were happening,
Oh,
still
that's
happening.
crazy. Yeah.
Totally crazy. Like you remember that, like, note for note kind of thing. Um, for my dad, he was raised by a doctor musician who was the son of a doctor musician, very old school Victorian English kind of style, very patriarchal, chauvinistic, ignorant, self-righteous, all the pre-woke stuff. And yeah, I think for him growing up, he would have experienced. I mean, New Zealand wasn't active in the war so much, so he didn't have to deal with that. He was too young also. Um, but yeah, I imagine the late 40s would have been coming of age for him, and New Zealand was coming of age itself. I mean, I don't think there was any majorly traumatic events that would have affected him growing up there. Yeah. So I think for him, he was more shaped by this legacy of
Yeah.
of like English, conservative English males
Yeah.
who are
Yeah.
building a new life in a new country.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been like the more that's happened to me, the more I've been interested in learning about what came before and history
Mm.
and like
Yeah.
asking my parents about like where they're from, what traumatized them, and I do see all these patterns of like my mom. I feel like the story of a lot of over controlling moms is like trying to do what they didn't do or like they're living through you vicariously in a way that's kind of like not
Totally.
great and not
Mhm.
respectful of like the fact that you're a different human being.
Right.
But yeah, I was like one of my first visits at MIT was Juno
Mm.
Diaz because he's on the faculty and he's like the brief wondrous life of Oscar Wilde guy, and
Hmm.
he's from the DR.
Hmm.
He was telling us that like his mom still doesn't get what he does, even though he's like a professor at MIT and like published this very like acclaimed book, and she's
Right.
like, how come you're not an engineer or a doctor? Like, what are you doing with your life? And he said like this quote, which like really stayed with me, which was like, your parents didn't give up their lives just to take yours.
Mm.
And yeah, like that really like hit.
Yeah. No, I feel
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom was Cultural Revolution China, so lots of
Uh-huh.
surveillance, which I think comes out in how she surveils me. My dad luckily
Wow.
was in Hong Kong, so he didn't
Mm.
have to deal with the Cultural Revolution as much. Yeah,
Hmm.
my dad's definitely the more chill one. Yeah.
Right. Well, that tracks from what you're saying.
But my dad is about to pass away, maybe in 5 to 10 years, of stage 4 prostate cancer. And
Oh,
so,
sorry to hear that.
yeah,
That's-
like I was
Where is he?
asking, he's in Boston.
Okay.
But yeah, I do like see so much of myself in him.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, that's why I was asking you about like how do I archive this? And you were like, just make a lot of
Right.
recordings. And
Yeah, I mean, it was so huge for me. The trip I came here in 2023, the year before I moved, like retracing my dad's journey here. He died 12 years before that. But I was able to experience this incredibly cathartic healing in my relationship with him, even though he died already, which was so unexpected.
yeah, I'm like maybe I need to
So
go on my mom's journey, but maybe I'll go on my dad's journey because he's the more urgent one.
yeah, yeah. I mean, well, yeah, like I was saying, yeah, definitely document as much that he can share and remember, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's the guide and the map. So
Yeah, it's crazy being like, oh, there was a life before me and I'm gonna
right,
learn about it because it's like part of the lineage
yeah,
of like how I got here.
totally, totally. I mean, just the idea that our parents were young and had these, had their
Yeah,
teenage
especially
years and
because
their 20s.
I'm like 30 and I'm like, oh, my
Yep.
mom already went through crazy shit by my age. I've also been through crazy
Right.
shit, but not in the same way.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good to I feel like in this time in history, everyone's raised to be so individualistic and just do your own thing. But those, our roots are so important. And I didn't even realize my whole journey to this point, and primarily through music, that it was just searching for belonging and identity. Like this thing
Yeah.
of juggling these at the time extreme worlds of jazz and electronic music.
Right.
Now they're one, but before they really weren't.
Yeah.
But like now I look back on that and I see it as an analog to being New Zealand Japanese and trying to find how do these two work together? How do they balance?
Okay. Yeah.
As a spectrum, where do these things meet? And then ultimately in musically and also with cultural identity, finding that, oh, it's just one thing. And I can play with it freely. Um, but yeah, that's and that to say that everything has been this subconscious and inherent kind of search for belonging and identity.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm screaming who I am to other people, but they don't see who I am. They just see like this.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's all about like, yeah, like belonging and identity without judgment
Hmm.
of what's different or what's other and not seeing the other as other. Like,
Hmm.
hell
Hmm.
the fuck yes, you're dancing and you're vibing, like, even though that's not how I dance, like, this is the shit.
Yeah.
Like, let me take a step
Yeah.
back. That's why I love
Yep.
jazz so much because, like, everyone gets a solo
Hmm.
and that's respected. And it's like, dude, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna silence myself for like
Hmm.
a couple minutes while you cook. Yeah.
Yeah. And support you while you do that too.
Yeah, the
The
support, like, oh, I see
musicians.
what you're doing. Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's pretty special. Pretty
But what
special.
about classical?
I mean, I started on classical piano. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't connect with it. My the way my dad had jazz records, but he'd favor classical music, and it was you know classical music is a huge spectrum unto itself, and he was into one very kind of s- fairly mainstream part of it. And as I've as I've heard music and experienced a lot of stuff, I've heard some incredible classical music. And I mean, at this point, I appreciate the 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 the, the pop hits of it too. But the people like Ravel and Debussy, and hearing the direct connection to like Bill Evans and Miles Davis and Keith
Mm,
Jarrett,
mm,
and then getting into actually, I'm through Keith Jarrett getting into other people like Shostakovich and like people whose music he's played. Um, yeah,
uh-huh.
I mean
What's
classical
your
music is so
favorite Keith Jarrett
fascinating.
album?
Oh, it's that's a favorite child. It's a favorite child question. However, it's probably Death and the Flower.
In the Flower. Death in the
Death
Flower.
and the Flower. Yeah, it's
Because,
from
yeah,
his
my
immediate.
friend put me on to Changeless, and I was like, this is
Change is beautiful.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really special. I mean, he has so much incredible music.
Yeah.
Um,
I want to ask you about Ahmad Jamal because,
yeah, happy
Pittsburgh.
birthday, Amma Jamal.
Yeah. I think they're moving his piano. There's some like article in the city paper about like them transporting his piano to somewhere else.
Oh wow,
But yeah, I think just like one house to another house in Pittsburgh.
right.
Yeah,
I'm so
tell me
gutted I
tell me
never
about
got to
Ahmad
meet him.
Jamal and the roots in Pittsburgh.
I never got to meet him or spend time with him, but when I was 10 years old, my eldest brother, who also played piano, he gave me an Ahmad Jamal album called The Awakening on cassette tape.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, it's my favorite piano trio record.
Mm.
Um, and when he gave it to me, that was years before it was sampled to death in hip hop and became the backbone of like Nas classics and so much else.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so Jamal was kind of in my diet from a very young age, and just always remained a favorite. And I found that, especially through my probably 20s and 30s, I just devoured everything he made, like pretty much
Mm-hmm.
every Ahmad Jamal record. And he made a lot. Um, and yeah, he's just super special. And I saw him play at SF Jazz a couple of years before he passed away. I think it was 88 maybe then, or
Where
something
would you
like that.
say is the jazz capital
Say again?
of where would you say is the jazz capital of the US, of the world, of
I don't
Asia?
know. I don't know. Like historically, it's different places claim it, New Orleans, Kansas City, New
Missouri,
York, and it's like
Kansas City, Missouri?
Kansas City. I guess so. Is it
Okay.
Kansas? Or is it,
There's
are there
two.
two?
There's
Is
Kansas City,
that
Kansas, but Kansas City, Missouri is the one people talk about.
right? There you go.
Okay.
And then in the 50s and 60s, New York claimed it for sure. And I mean, for me, if I chose one, it would be New York because that's the period that I really came up on was like
I was
late 50s jazz.
I was surprised Seattle has this crazy good jazz club called Demetrio's Jazz Alley. And I
Oh yeah,
just
I've
saw
heard
a
of it.
show there on a Wednesday and it was the best concert I've ever seen, like that kind of mastery on the upright bass. Like I've never seen anybody
Love
play
it.
the upright bass like that.
Love it.
Yeah. Because like people are saying like Demetrius Jazz Alley in Seattle, spots in Detroit, New York, Boston, New Orleans.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I personally might not put Boston on the list, but there's historic stuff which has happened. I mean, and almost every city has had historic stuff. Uh, yeah,
yeah, I guess
and now it's a global art form, and it's kind of you get to experience kind of filtered culture through different countries and people's take on jazz.
where did jazz
Jazz
come
in
from?
Africa.
Okay. Do you know what part?
I mean, it came out
Yeah.
of it came out of the blues. It came out of slavery.
Yeah, out of
It's
necessity.
yeah, it's an African form. It's Black American music. It's a lot of musicians will say it's not called jazz. It's Black American music or Black classical music or
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and then it evolved in a pressure cooker of social politics and brutality and need and safety, like you're saying, trying to find that safety and yeah, it's a heavy history for sure,
Yeah.
which I think for a long time affected how American jazz artists viewed jazz in other countries because it hadn't gone through those struggles and it was a form that
Mm-hmm.
was being kind of aesthetically co-opted. But at this point, I think it's become a pretty valid
Yeah.
expression all over the world.
Do you know where did classical come from? Europe and
Europe,
like
yeah,
people making music for like
the
the king?
courts and the royals,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. And maybe that's
yeah.
why there's a different culture surrounding classical.
I mean, there was definitely patronage in both cases. It's
Hmm.
like the as as the creative class couldn't pay its own way. So with classical, you had lords and kings and queens commissioning work, and then in New York in the 50s, you had someone like Baroness Panonica de Cons, what's her name? Baroness Panonica, I forget her name, but she looked after Charlie Parker and Thelonious Monk and so many
Okay.
people. She was the care, the moral and maybe financial at times caregiver.
Yeah.
Um,
Man,
but
I'm
yeah, I mean,
like, I should be a
patronage.
patron. I should be a patron if I had money.
Yeah, and I feel like anyone because that's the thing where it's like the people who really have money, they don't just by default, they don't create culture, like in the true sense,
Yeah.
but they can facilitate
Yeah.
and be the lifeblood of culture with their money.
Yeah, as long
Uh,
as they have
but
taste or like are putting it
yeah,
back into.
yeah, totally. Or just funnel it into something which has taste, or just, funnel it the
Yeah.
right way.
Yeah. Like hire some like another musician to hold the bag and distribute it
Right?
accordingly.
But instead you have like a Daniel Ek and putting all his hundreds of millions of dollars into AI drone warfare instead of into the culture. Like
Yeah.
it's fucked.
Well,
So,
it's like because I took leave from the Robotics Institute at Carnegie Mellon because
uh
I was like, it was when Palestine was popping off and like all this
yeah,
like, I was like, where the fuck am I? I'm in the drone warfare like research lab. Well, not
right.
that was like the lab that shared the building with us, and I was in like the
Yeah,
creative like robotics for elderly people.
right.
It was like such a small little quarter of funding compared to like Air Lab, which is the autonomous drone lab. And then I'd be hearing about tenured faculty talking about how to find Russians in the woods. And I'm like, why are you here? Why do you have this platform? I should have that
Wow.
platform. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people, it's like the powers that be, they don't either they don't know or they don't want to acknowledge the power of culture and the importance of it. And when it comes to global relations, like the soft power of culture, like it's it's so important and from a fundamental grassroots level through to how countries get along, like
Yeah,
culture is
diplomats.
imperative.
Yeah. Because it always starts with, hi, how are you? Thank you.
Right.
And that's why it's so important to like be like, where am I going? Who are these people? Like, what do they
Hmm.
care about? How should I
Hmm.
like dress to respect the place I am?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like a lot of Americans like don't get it because they've never been outside the US because the US is kind of like very insular. It's
Yeah, but
like,
not leaving the US is not the problem. There are plenty of countries where people have never left their country and they get it fine. The problem
yeah.
is
Because I'm
their
like,
education system
you
is
don't, you
designed
never learn a
to be
separate
dumb.
language. Like, you never actually like really learn another
You know,
language or what it's like to like,
you don't even learn fucking history. Like
yeah.
there's huge issues in the education system there, and it's by design. It's not, they're not trying to make their people smarter.
Yeah. Nobody likes a woke citizen. Like, that's our friend Gary. Gary's gonna make a cameo in this interview. But I love this fucking balcony because the other day we were just smoking out here and we talked and he handed me extra towels he had, which now I'm using to like pad my window. And
Nice.
it like reminds me of Italy, like just like talking to each other. across the balcony. Like you have your
Yeah,
space, I have my space, but we're vibing. Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah. Which I
Yeah,
feel like is,
I was gonna say I have to get to Pittsburgh at some stage. Like I've never
dude,
been
come on
there.
your tour. Are you flying? Are you driving?
I'm
I
not gonna
know a
be.
place you should play.
I'm in. That's cool. I'm in Detroit literally for 1 day, so it's not
Okay.
gonna happen. But I need to make it happen for sure.
There's this Pittsburgh I love because there's like so much DIY Midwest culture.
Mm,
Yeah, there are like two separate DIY backyard saunas that have popped up in the past like 2 years, and I've done a
wow.
residency at this sauna called Signal Sauna.
Uh-huh.
Ryan, I don't know his last name, but Ryan is also with it. Like Ryan's, yeah. Ryan always says that love, he always like, he said he always like goes on these huge spiritual journeys, but then always ends up at love is the answer. Like love is always the
Mm,
answer.
mm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool spot. And I love like the meshing of like this is not performers on stage, it's the performers in the pit with people around them, and they can
Right.
also like
Right.
fuck with your MIDI controller and you invite them to. And then people are also like doing their sauna thing and like you go in and out, and it's not like the music is front and center. It's like the DJ is on the floor with everyone and there's no power dynamics at all.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I mean, that's community. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to buy a warehouse here. I
Okay.
realized I have enough for a down payment on something.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know you gotta go in 7 minutes.
All good.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on? I guess, yeah, I
There's
think
a
went
million things
deeper
we
into
can touch on.
history. Yeah. I guess like one question I had was like, if you had to give me advice or give like some, because I think like one thing I think about is how all my friends who are full-time musicians who are my age have rich
Mm,
parents or at least one parent who can help them out if needed, which is like that's
lucky.
the patronage thing. Like it's like,
Hmm.
oh, I'm gonna help like my son.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't have that
Yeah.
luxury,
Yep.
and it's really hard. And I'm
Yeah.
like, other
Yeah.
people, like people like me and other people like me should be making
Hmm.
music, but my parents didn't have money for drum lessons
Hmm.
when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I've been getting, like, through like throwing shows and getting more involved, I'm like, it's not a door split that makes money ever. Like, it's like, I have
Huh.
CMU give me a grant, or like the government
Yeah.
give me a grant, and that's
Yeah,
what
exactly.
funds this
Patronage
shit.
can.
Yeah. So I guess, like, do you have advice on like getting large lump sums of money from institutions?
I mean, if you can get institutional money, grab it for sure. I mean, I mean, that's been my thing for the last maybe 5, 6 years, just getting to the fellowship grant world. And it's so much easier to tell a story in that context. Like
Yeah.
if you're dealing with the commercial realities of, event production and stuff, people, it's harder to have the space to build narrative and really be be indulgent in process and all that kind of thing. So yeah, it's great. It's great you're doing that.
I should start a
Um,
residency and have people just come to my balcony.
I mean, that's one of my dreams in Japan would be to one day
Yeah.
be able to create an artist residency here.
Yeah.
That'd
Okay,
be an
yeah, I should
absolute
apply to
dream.
that Kyoto thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like you got to take the shot. Of course, there'll be plenty of quality people who miss out, like anything, but you got to take the shot if you want to have
Yeah.
a chance.
Then I have an essay that I can reuse and copy and paste.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course, I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel you. It's challenging without those kind of support structures already, and then a lot of people who have the kind of the silver spoon support structure, they're kind of not in touch with the with roots
But
and
that's why I
what
love Zach, like Zach Saginaw. Yeah.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
doing it
Zach's
right.
Zach's magical,
Yeah.
and that whole community is great, and I think Detroit with the lower overhead, that's part of what makes it possible.
Yeah. Where you're like, I don't have to respond to the pressures of capitalism, maybe for 2 months. And you have this little
Yeah,
like sheltered insular world where you can just create your universe. Yeah.
exactly. Yes. Yeah, no, that's I mean that's great advice to anyone right there. Just, find that space where you can do that because there's a lot of glitz and glamour and temptation to be like, I got to do this in LA, I got to do this in New York or somewhere.
No.
And
Yeah.
those cities are prohibitively expensive
Yeah.
to
Do it in
actually
Pittsburgh. Yeah.
exactly go somewhere where it's possible.
I'm paying 1,100. It's like really it's cute. Yeah,
Great.
Pittsburgh is still very affordable. And this is like in the center of the city. Like before I was paying 775K or not
Uh-huh.
K, 775 in Squirrel Hill.
Yep.
Yeah, like I feel like it all boils down to like geopolitics and economic pressures
Hmm.
at the end of the day, like who has resources and who doesn't.
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
and that creates the power dynamics.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
that's that one thing with Detroit which freaks me out is how Flint is right there
yeah,
and they still don't have water.
yeah, it's insane. It's insane to
It's
me that
totally
people don't are homeless. I feel
hmm
like that should be a solved problem if you just divert 2% of the defense budget into like housing. It would be a solved problem.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And like, okay, we have 2 minutes left. Where are you touring?
I am next shows are in London and Paris, and then I'll be in the
Which
States
which dates?
July 23 in London, July 24 in Paris, and then Detroit August 3, and then I'm at the Montalvo Arts residency for the month of August while I'm in the States and doing a few shows, doing LA in mid-August.
Where is that
Um,
residency?
Montalvo Arts, it's in Saratoga, which is near San Jose.
Okay, cool.
They have, they have a thing called the Lucas Arts Program where they award fellows 3 months of residency over 3 years. So I've been doing 1 month a year. This will be my third month. But yeah, it's
Oh,
like
over
no,
3 years. I love
yeah. So I've
that.
been I've been doing 1 month a year.
Yeah.
Um, and they have, each all the units are self-contained. They have a chef making dinners for the weeknights, so all the artists get together and just, talk life in the world and there's no deliverables, which is fantastic. Just get to,
Yeah.
do what you need to do.
It's just
My
about
first my
vibing.
first month there, my first week there actually, I was really guilty because I wasn't doing shit. And other artists who just started there, they felt the same thing. And then the coordinators were telling us, look, if you need to sleep for a month, that's cool. Do whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Like I respect you. You're not a product. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, there's more I want to ask, but I know we're at time. I'm thinking if there's anything that is burning within me. Oh, one very quick thing is like when I saw you play in New York, and I was
Mm.
just like stealth mode in the crowd, and then you were like, "You were here." That was just because I was like, Mark is doing his thing. Like I do not need to distract him. What I want is Mark to be doing his thing without knowing that I'm here. And I loved like that venue. Like I would be up in the balcony and I could see everything that you're doing. That you'd gone Ableton and like changed this little slider.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I think I witnessed an interaction where somebody was trying to say hi to you, and then you
Yep.
physically, well, first you gave them a hug, but then they tried to say hi to you again, and then you physically pushed them out of the booth. And then it was so funny because the person I was next to like started laughing, and then I started laughing, and we had a little moment, and I'm like, yeah, like don't be doing this to the DJ. Like no talking on the dance floor, just let them cook is how I
That's
feel.
hilarious. Yeah, I mean, some people just don't, that's that entitlement thing. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm always happy to see friends, but also I'm busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe I'll come to one of these shows. Detroit's the most likely one. Are you playing New York?
Not this trip. No,
Okay, yeah, Detroit's the
no.
closest one. Yeah. You
Yeah,
said which
August the
date?
3rd.
August 3rd.
August 3. Yeah.
3.
Yeah,
Okay.
at Motor City Wine.
Okay,
It's a
MCW.
fun spot. Yeah.
Okay, sick.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for
Wicked.
talking, Mark.
Of course, good to chat and
Yeah, good to
yeah,
chat.
always up for it. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'll see you at MCW August 3rd.
Nice.
All right, peace.
All right, take care, yeah.